The NFL is about to get turned completely upside down, and what we're revealing right now is going to send shockwaves through every team facility, every front office, and every fan base across the league. Breaking news is coming out of Cleveland, Ohio. That's not just big, it's massive. The kind of earth shattering development that completely changes the trajectory of an entire franchise for the next decade. An insider has just leaked what many people inside the league are calling Todd Monken's real plan for the Cleveland Browns quarterback position. And folks, this is not business as usual. This isn't some minor adjustment happening quietly behind closed doors. This is a franchise-altering, league-shaking, absolutely explosive move that could fundamentally reset the entire future of football in Cleveland. Trust me when I tell you, you are not ready for how deep this story goes, how many layers there are to unpack, and how many connections have been building for years that are all coming together right now at this exact moment. Because what we're talking about here doesn't just involve a new head coach taking over a struggling team. This involves one of the most talked about, most electric, most polarizing young quarterbacks in all of football, and a long-term vision that the Cleveland Browns have been quietly preparing for, waiting for the perfect moment to commit to fully and completely. Before we dive into the absolute insanity of what's happening, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now and smash that notification bell because this story is developing at lightning speed, and you're going to want to be here for every single twist, turn, and revelation as this unfolds over the coming days and weeks. The Cleveland Browns have officially made their decision, and they've named Todd Monken as their new head coach. On the surface, to casual fans, to people who don't follow the league obsessively, this might seem like just another coaching hire in a league that cycles through coaches constantly. But here's the part that isn't being talked about loudly enough, the part that the mainstream media is either missing or deliberately ignoring because they haven't connected all the dots yet. Sources close to the Cleveland Browns organization are saying there was one defining factor that separated Todd Monken from every single other candidate who interviewed for this position. It all comes back to the quarterback position, and more specifically, it comes back to Monken's vision for WHO that quarterback is going to be and how he's going to develop him into a superstar. This wasn't just about comparing resumes, looking at who had the most experience, or evaluating coaching trees to see who came from the best lineage. This was about belief, about direction, about commitment to a specific vision for the future. And according to multiple insiders who have direct knowledge of what happened in those interview rooms, Todd Monken walked into his meetings with Browns ownership and management with a detailed, aggressive, and supremely confident vision centered entirely around Shedeur Sanders. Not a vague plan, not generic coach speak about evaluating all options or being open to different possibilities. Not the kind of political answer that most coaches give when they're trying not to commit to anything specific. No, Monken came in with a step-by-step blueprint for exactly how he would turn Shedeur Sanders into the face of the Cleveland Browns franchise, and that vision is reportedly the primary reason Todd Monken landed his first ever NFL head coaching job. Let that sink in for a moment. The Cleveland Browns didn't just hire Todd Monken because he's respected around the league or because he has an impressive resume or because he interviewed well. They hired him because he made it crystal clear that the quarterback position wasn't going to be an afterthought, wasn't going to be something they'd figure out later, wasn't going to be approached with uncertainty or hesitation. The quarterback was going to be the foundation of everything they built, and that quarterback was going to be Shedeur Sanders. One analyst who follows the Browns closely put it perfectly. This dude is one of the better offensive minds that we've seen in the game. He did it at the college level with my Bulldogs a few years back, won national championships, then he goes to the Ravens and sort of reinvents how Lamar Jackson plays the game. Look, the guy's obviously an offensive genius. I want to see what he does with a true pocket passer like Shedeur. People inside the Browns building are saying that Monken didn't hedge during those interviews. He didn't hesitate. He didn't dance around the topic or give safe, politically correct answers that could be interpreted multiple ways. He made it abundantly clear, with conviction and evidence to back it up, that Shedeur Sanders could be that guy in Cleveland. And he didn't just say it, he backed it up with proof, with schemes, with developmental plans, with specific examples of how he's done it before and how he'll do it again. This isn't speculation from talking heads on television. This isn't internet noise from fans who want to believe something. This is coming directly from people who sat in those meetings, who heard the conversations firsthand, who watched the presentations, and who understood immediately that the Cleveland Browns are making a massive bet on the Monken-Sanders connection becoming the foundation of their future success. Cleveland isn't straddling the fence anymore. They're not keeping all their options open or hedging their bets in case something doesn't work out. They picked a direction, committed to a plan, and they're going all in on making it happen. Before anyone dismisses this as hype or gets it twisted thinking this is just another overhyped storyline, let's talk about why this move actually makes perfect football sense when you look at the evidence. Todd Monken doesn't sell dreams without delivering results. He doesn't make promises he can't keep. He brings receipts, and those receipts are absolutely spectacular. Just look at what Todd Monken accomplished as the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, working with Lamar Jackson. That offense didn't just function at a competent level, it evolved. We're talking about a complete transformation of how an NFL offense could be run, all built around maximizing a quarterback's unique strengths. One expert broke down Monken's impact beautifully. Todd Monken helped Lamar Jackson, even when he didn't win an MVP, have 41 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That's last year when he lost the MVP to Josh Allen. Todd Monken allowed Lamar Jackson to experience his most prolific seasons. Think about those numbers for a second. 41 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions. That's a ratio of better than 10-1, which is efficiency that's nearly unheard of in NFL history. That's the kind of production that only the absolute elite quarterbacks in the history of the game have ever achieved. We're talking about numbers that rival the very best seasons from Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and Peyton Manning. And here's what makes it even more impressive. Monken achieved those results with a quarterback who entered the league primarily known for his running ability, someone who had legitimate questions about whether he could ever develop into an elite passer. Lamar Jackson came out of Louisville as an incredible athlete who happened to play quarterback. The passing ability, the pocket presence, the ability to dissect defenses through the air, that all came later, and it came under Todd Monken's guidance and system. Monken didn't try to squeeze Lamar into a rigid, traditional system that didn't fit his abilities. He built an offense that breathed through Lamar's skill set, designed quarterback runs that turned Lamar's elite speed into a devastating offensive weapon, RPO concepts that kept defenses completely off balance, never knowing whether to commit to stopping the run or defending the pass. Layered play-action concepts that became absolutely lethal because defenses had to respect the run threat so much. Route progressions that made sense for Lamar's processing speed and playing style. One analyst captured the broader impact perfectly. Keep our defense the way it is, which is one of the tops in the league, and we can have a head coach who can command, keep the stability that they've had in some respects in the locker room, but elevate this offense to get the most out of the tools that they have and the players that they have. That's what's been missing. I do think that there was more meat on the bone offensively. Sound familiar? Because that same offensive DNA, that same philosophical approach fits Shedder Sanders almost perfectly. Monken understands something that many coaches never figure out, no matter how long they coach. You don't force a quarterback to become someone he's not. You don't try to jam a square peg into a round hole and hope it works out. You shape the entire system around what the quarterback already does best, and then you expand from there, developing new skills while maintaining the foundation of their strengths. When Monken arrived in Baltimore, he didn't waste time trying to turn Lamar into a traditional stationary pocket passer who stands in one spot and goes through 5-step drops. He amplified Lamar's natural athleticism while simultaneously sharpening his passing game to elite levels. That exact same philosophy is why people inside Cleveland believe this pairing with Shedeur can work at an elite level. Shedeur Sanders brings incredible accuracy at all 3 levels of the field. Beautiful touch on deep throws that drop right into receivers' hands like they're attached to a string. advanced pre-snap reads that allow him to identify defensive coverages and know where the soft spots will be before the ball is even snapped. Fast processing speed that lets him work through progressions quickly when his first read isn't there, and enough mobility to extend plays when protection breaks down, to escape pressure, to pick up crucial first downs with his legs when necessary. Those are traits you weaponize in an offensive system. Those are abilities you build around and maximize. You don't suppress them or ignore them or try to turn the player into something different. And this is where the story gets even more interesting, where we learn just how long this connection between Monken and Shedeur has really been building. There's a lesser-known moment in their history that shows this isn't some recent development or opportunistic decision. This has been brewing for years. During a previous draft process, Todd Monken reportedly reached out directly to Deion Sanders and Shedeur himself. This wasn't casual interest. This wasn't a quick conversation at a scouting event. This was intentional, targeted recruitment. Here's the absolutely wild part that tells you everything about both Monken's evaluation of Shedeur and Shedeur's confidence in himself. Monken initially approached them about Shedeur coming into the NFL as a backup quarterback, a developmental role behind an established starter, a foot-in-the-door opportunity to learn the NFL game while collecting a paycheck and developing for the future. Most players in Shedeur's position would have jumped at that opportunity. Most would have taken the guaranteed money, accepted the chance to get to the NFL, and been grateful for the opportunity. But not Shedeur Sanders, not even close. Shedeur didn't flinch. He didn't get upset or argue or complain about the offer. He didn't disrespect Monken or burn any bridges. He simply, calmly, confidently declined. Not out of ego or arrogance, but out of genuine self-belief. He knew his value. He understood his abilities. He knew his preparation and work ethic. And he wasn't built to sit quietly on a bench waiting for permission to show what he could do. That response stuck with Todd Monken. It told him everything he needed to know about who Shedeur Sanders is as a person and as a competitor. This wasn't just a talented quarterback with a famous last name. This was a true competitor who expects to earn the starting job through his performance, who isn't satisfied with scraps or backup roles, who believes in himself enough to turn down guaranteed money because he knows he's worth more. That confidence paired with discipline and work ethic is exactly what Cleveland has been missing at the quarterback position for years. They've had players who were too timid, players who didn't believe in themselves, players who accepted mediocrity. Shedeur represents the complete opposite of that mindset. One analyst discussing the hire noted, "Your reaction, buddy, to Todd Monken, new Browns head coach? Well, certainly I'm happy for Todd, who I think has always wanted this opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL. He was the OC, obviously, at Georgia when they won 2 national championships. He's been the OC in Tampa, the OC for the Baltimore Ravens, the OC for the Cleveland Browns. But with the Ravens, obviously, he took Lamar Jackson to his 2 best seasons of his career from a statistical standpoint, one of which earned him an MVP, the other which certainly should have earned him an MVP. He is direct. He is sarcastic. He will demand accountability. I think he will be very forceful in what his demands are and his expectations are. And I don't think he'll be afraid to raise issues with people who are not meeting that standard. Now, fast forward to today, to this exact moment in time, and the picture becomes absolutely crystal clear. Todd Monken didn't forget that interaction with Shedeur. He remembered the mindset, the poise, the conviction, the self-belief, and now, for the first time in his coaching career, Monken is finally in a position to turn that belief into action. This hire isn't random. It isn't rushed. It isn't some panic move by a desperate franchise. The Browns didn't just hire a coach. They hired a vision for their quarterback and their entire future. And whether people want to admit it or not, whether it makes them uncomfortable or challenges their preconceived notions, this move puts Shedeur Sanders squarely at the center of Cleveland's next chapter. Todd Monken isn't sitting in a coordinator's chair anymore, making suggestions that might or might not get implemented depending on what the head coach wants. He's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns now. And for the first time in his career, he has real power to shape the direction of an entire NFL organization from top to bottom. And that power matters tremendously because Monken is now in the perfect position to bring Shedeur Sanders in as the guy. Not a backup waiting his turn, not a long-term project that might develop in 3 or 4 years, not a developmental flyer where they're hoping he turns into something. QB1 from day one, the face of the franchise, the centerpiece that everything else gets built around, the foundation of the rebuild. This history between Monken and Shedeur tells you everything you need to know about what's about to happen in Cleveland. Monken didn't just stumble onto Shedeur Sanders by accident or because someone recommended him. He's been watching him for years, studying his game film obsessively, evaluating his development, tracking his progress. He knows Shedeur's game inside and out. He understands his strengths in intimate detail. He recognizes his football IQ and leadership abilities, and he fully grasps what his ceiling could be at the NFL level with the right coaching and the right system. One commentator made an interesting observation about the political dynamics. I do think it's going to be really interesting to see how Myles Garrett handles this if not only does Jim Schwartz not get the head coaching hire, but also he's no longer his defensive coordinator. Myles was openly campaigning for Jim Schwartz. Denzel Ward openly campaigned for Jim Schwartz. You got to imagine he's pretty peeved off. That's got to be like part of the deal with Shedeur. And this coaching search is he wanted somebody that not only is an offensive guy, but somebody who's got a history of teaching quarterbacks. And so, like from a Shedeur perspective, you got to be pretty pleased. Now let's talk about real evidence, because opinions and theories don't win football games, production does. Todd Monken was the architect, the mastermind, the brilliant designer behind Lamar Jackson's NFL MVP season. Under Monken's system, Lamar didn't just succeed or perform adequately. He absolutely dominated the entire league in a way that left no debate whatsoever about who the best player was. That MVP race wasn't even close. Lamar separated himself early in the season, maintained consistency throughout, and finished strong, all within a system that was tailored perfectly to maximize his unique abilities. And Monken didn't stop there, didn't rest on those laurels or coast after achieving that success. In another season working with Lamar, he helped him throw 41 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions. Read that again slowly and let it sink in. 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's a 10-to-1 ratio, and that kind of efficiency is almost unheard of in the modern NFL. That's not just good quarterback play. That's elite by any standard you want to use. That's historically great. To put it in proper perspective, those numbers rival the absolute peak seasons from legends like Tom Brady in his prime, Aaron Rodgers at his absolute best, and Peyton Manning during his record-breaking year. And Monken helped produce that level of output from a quarterback who was still refining his passing mechanics, still developing as a pocket passer. That's the part people keep overlooking or not giving proper credit to. Lamar Jackson entered the league labeled primarily as a runner, an athlete who happened to play quarterback. The elite passing ability, the pocket presence, the ability to dissect NFL defenses through the air, that all came later, and it came directly under Todd Monken's coaching and system. Now imagine, just close your eyes and imagine what Todd Monken can do with Shedeur Sanders, who many professional scouts and evaluators say entered the conversation with more polished passing traits than Lamar had coming out of college. Shedeur has been throwing at an elite level his entire college career. He's been comfortable making pro-style reads since he was a freshman. He's worked through complex progressions, he's manipulated defenders with his eyes and arm angles, and he's placed the ball with precision that's rare for college quarterbacks. His touch on intermediate and deep throws is exceptional, the kind of feel that usually takes years to develop at the professional level. His footwork shows discipline and refinement beyond his years. Those are tools and abilities you usually only see from seasoned NFL veterans who've been in the league for 5 or 6 years. Give that existing skill set to Todd Monken, let him design an offense specifically around those abilities, and suddenly you've got the blueprint for an elite quarterback transformation. This isn't just theory or wishful thinking. This is pattern recognition based on what Monken has already proven he can do. Another analyst captured the excitement perfectly. Rappaport reports the Browns are hiring former Ravens OC Todd Monken as their new head coach per The Insider after an exhaustive search. Cleveland lands Monken, who previously worked with MVP Lamar Jackson. Todd Monken is the new head coach for the Cleveland Browns. Pro Bowl quarterback Shedeur Sanders has him a head coach who also believed in him and wanted to draft him to work with him behind Lamar Jackson when he was at the Ravens. So that is the first good thing about Todd Monken. That's why this hire matters so much for Shedeur Sanders' NFL future. This is, without any exaggeration, the absolute best possible scenario he could walk into as a rookie quarterback. Think about what he's getting: a head coach who already believes in him completely, a proven system that fits his natural strengths instead of fighting against them, and a track record of developing quarterbacks into not just starters, but superstars, MVP caliber players who dominate the league. How many rookie quarterbacks in NFL history have ever gotten that kind of setup? Almost none. You can probably count them on one hand. Most young quarterbacks get drafted into absolute chaos. No clear development plan, no patience from ownership or fans, no alignment between the coaching staff and front office about what they're trying to build. They're asked to survive instead of being given the tools and support to grow. But Shedeur's situation is completely, fundamentally different from that typical rookie experience. This is a head coach who specifically wanted Shedeur Sanders, who didn't accept the Browns job and then figure out the quarterback situation later. He took the job because the quarterback fit his vision perfectly, because he saw the potential for something special, because he knew he could develop Shedeur into an elite NFL quarterback. That changes everything. When a head coach is invested in your success from day one, when he's already studied hundreds of hours of your film, understands your tendencies and habits, knows exactly where you shine and where you need refinement, when he's already planning how to scheme the offense to maximize your abilities, that's when special things start to happen in the NFL. That's when careers take off. That's when franchises transform from mediocre to elite in seemingly overnight fashion.